Hello, what's up YouTube? Ronnie's with another video, and in this video I'm going to be showing you guys every single step you need to know about skin retouching. And don't worry, I'm going to be putting the timestamps for you so that you can skip if at all you want to go to a specific part of skin retouching that you're not well conversant with. So in this tutorial I'm going to be sharing with you guys every single step regarding to skin retouching, dodging and burning, eye whitening, and also how we can export the images the best way, and also blemish removal, not forget. But if you so let's just kick in and start learning about everything you need to know about skin retouching. And if at all you haven't liked this video, I guarantee that you should hit the like button right now, so that YouTube can rank it and push it to more people out there that are willing to learn and understand about skin retouching and every aspect of skin retouching in Photoshop. So right now I'm in my interface of Photoshop and I'm using Photoshop 2020. If at all you have an older version, you can as well work and follow along, because very few changes happen with these new Photoshop upgrades or versions. So before we learn about skin retouching, you have to first of all understand what skin retouching is all about. Skin retouching is more of enhancing or having uniform skin tones, and also more of eliminating the blemishes or skin imperfections. So when we do those two things, we end up having that nice and beautiful retouched image. So basically we have two methods of skin retouching. Those are really the most common methods, and the first one, we have the frequency separation technique that is very well known by everyone out there, and the second one is macro or micro dodge and burn. So those two techniques are the most common techniques. And before you can go ahead, this image was taken by Gmax Studios, and I'm going to put his link in the description of this video so that you guys can follow him out on his YouTube channel. He's an amazing photographer, and he also teaches how you can retouch images. So the link to his YouTube channel is going to be in the description of this video. So for this tutorial, we are going to be learning about frequency separation. So if at all you have been learning about different techniques of retouching and you are not well conversant with frequency separation, this is a tutorial for you. So basically, let's first of all learn a simple aspect about frequency separation. Frequency separation is a skin retouching technique that is going to divide an image, or it divides a photo into two, so that we can have the layers, those two layers, one of them containing the colors and the other containing the texture, so that when you combine both layers, you're going to be having the image as a whole. So I just want to first of all understand that. So we are just going to divide the image into those two layers, which is usually the high frequency and the low frequency. And the high frequency usually contains the textures, and the low frequency usually contains the skin tones or the color of the skin. So you're just going to come to the background layer and we hit Ctrl or Command J twice. So you just come, make sure the background layer has been selected, and hit Ctrl J twice or Command J twice. So just hit Ctrl J once and hit Ctrl or Command J the second time, and you'll have these two layers. So after I have created these two layers, we are going to come and we name these layers like I said initially. Just double click or double tap to rename a layer, and this is going to be our low frequency, and this is going to be our high frequency. So these are the two layers that we are going to divide the initial background image into. So with the low frequency layer selected, remember this low frequency layer is going to be containing our colors or the skin tones for this image, and the upper layer is going to be containing our textures or the details or the outlines of this very image. So just want to remain with the low frequency details, and in order to do that, just come and turn off the high frequency layer by turning off the visibility or this eye right here. I hope you can see it. So just come and turn it off and come to the low frequency layer and make sure it is selected. Then we are going to come right here where it says filter. Then you come to blur and we come down to Gaussian blur right here. So when you come to Gaussian blur, it is going to open this other window for us. So right here we have the image and we have the Gaussian blur window right here. So make sure you zoom out and you can click to look for the area that has. So right now we just want to get a reference area of the skin, or I would say an area that has more skin details than the rest of the image. So when you get this area, make sure you have to zoom in and look for that area. So we just want to start blurring out or removing the details you can see right here until when they start getting lost and we only remain with the colors. This implies that when you start losing out on these details right in these areas, it means that you are going to be remaining with colors at the end of the due process. So just come right here and you can start moving this radius. Simply left click on it and start dragging it towards the right hand side as you're looking at these prominent details in the skin area. So just move it the right hand side just like that and continue moving it just like that. And you have to stop at that point when these details are starting to get lost. So I think at around 7, that is when I am just starting to close out on these details. So you can even proceed even more. So I could just take it a little bit further. So at around 8, that's when I'm starting to lose out on the details. Remember, you don't have to cram these details or these values because different images are going to be having different sharpness or different details, and different images are shot with different cameras that have different sensors and different pixel counts or megapixels. So you don't have to cram this, just look at the image that you have to retouch at hand and blur it accordingly. So I think a radius of 8 is going to be enough. Make sure the preview is also checked and just come and hit OK. So we're just going to leave this to apply that effect onto the overall image. And when it is done applying this, you're going to notice that the image has now turned to look a little bit blurry and we have lost out on the details in the image. If I told them to zoom in by holding Ctrl or Command plus on the keyboard to zoom in, you can see that we have lost out on the details within the skin and the image looks a little bit blurry. So we just want to retain the details or the outlines of the image. So just come right here to the high frequency layer and now activate it. Make sure it is selected and now click on the eye icon to bring back the details. But remember, on the high frequency layer, we only want to remain with the details within the skin or the outlines. Yeah, let me just hope I'm still with you guys and you are right on the same step. So just come to the high frequency layer and now when this layer is selected, we only want to remain with the details within the skin. And in order to remain with the details, remember we usually have different kinds of images. We have 8-bit images and 16-bit images. I hope you can see this 16 right here. It means this is a 16-bit image. And we also have 8-bit images and you're going to be seeing 8 right here. So just take that into consideration because the next step is going to determine what kind of frequency separation method that we're going to apply to the image. So we have 16 right here. So we're just going to come to image, then we come all the way down to apply image. So when we come to apply image, it is going to open for us this window right here. You can see we have the source, which is the name of the image, and the layer. So for the layer, when it comes to the layer, we have to choose or select that layer from which we want to extract the details. Remember, we just want to extract them from this layer from which we had to discard them somewhere. So remember, as we are blurring out the details, we stored them somewhere in this layer. So just come and select that specific layer, which is the low frequency layer, which stored our discarded details or textures. Then leave the channel to RGB, and since you have a 16-bit image, I hope you can see this, we have 16 right here. When it comes to the blending, make sure the blending for a 16-bit image is add. So just come and choose add. So when you select add, make sure your opacity is at 100%. Make sure preserve transparency and mask are not checked. Make sure your scale is 2 and offset 0. But since it is a 16-bit image, we usually turn on the invert option, and when we check this option, it puts all our details on the gray kind of layer, meaning that it has extracted all the colors from this layer and has only made us retain the outlines and the details within the image. So that is for a 16-bit image, but if at all you're working with an 8-bit image, these are going to be a little bit different. For an 8-bit image, you put the blending mode to subtract, opacity at 100%, and preserve transparency and mask are not checked rather. Then the scale is usually 2 and offset 128. The reason for this is because we want the details to be subtracted and put on a 50% gray kind of layer. So half of the colors in 256 is 128. That's why we have these two values. But for an 8-bit image, the invert option is not checked, and we have the same values like we had in the 16-bit image. So always make sure that the preview option is checked. But since I have a 16-bit image, I'm just going to leave this to add. Opacity at 100, the scale is 2, offset 0, and I turn on the invert option, and it's going to put the details on this kind of 50% gray kind of layer. Come and hit OK. So after hitting OK, you're going to notice that this is going to put all our details on this gray kind of layer. But remember, we want to bring back the original information in the image, and the blend mode that is going to help us recover or bring back the original details in the image is going to be linear light. So come to the blend mode option and simply left click right there, then scroll all the way down and look for linear light. So when you get to linear light, so just look through for linear light, and here we are. When you click on linear light, you can see we get back the image the way it was initially before, and right now we are done extracting or subtracting or dividing the image into the high frequency layer and the low frequency layer. We are done dividing it into the textures and the colors. So we just want to come and put these two layers in a group so that you can see that there is a difference between the original background image and our frequency separation group or the divided image. So just come and hold down the Ctrl or Command and click on both layers. So you left click on both layers and drag them into the folder like icon to put them in a group, or you can simply, as you have selected them, simply click Ctrl or Command G on the keyboard to put them in a group. So you can simply double click to rename that group into frequency separation, just like that. So we are done separating the frequencies or separating or dividing the image into the high frequency layer or the textures and the colors. So when you turn this on and off, you can see there is no difference between the original background image and our frequency separation group, meaning we have successfully divided the image into the high frequency layer and the low frequency layer. So the next thing is going to be now learning how to do the skin retouching. Remember, for this tutorial, we are going to first of all do a skin retouching, then we remove the blemishes after refining the skin tones or the skin textures in the image. So we're just going to come and open this group. So right now we just want to learn about skin retouching, which is frequency separation, and the major emphasis of this tutorial. And the very first technique is going to be using a mixer brush tool. So when we are using a mixer brush tool, it is that kind of special kind of brush that is going to help us even or create that kind of uniform skin tone transition. You can see when I try to zoom in, you can see that we have uneven skin tone transitions, or the skin tones in some areas is really not natural and it is really inconsistent. So just want to harmonize those transitions within the skin tones. So every single time you're retouching, always make sure that you turn off the caps lock key, because it is always going to leave your cursor or whichever tool you're trying to use in Photoshop as this kind of cross. I hope you can see this kind of cross right here on the screen. So make sure you turn off the caps lock key to have the tool displayed like it is meant to be. So we're just going to come under the brushes and simply right click, and under the brushes, if at all you have newer versions of Photoshop, you can see what we have as a mixer brush tool. So this is a mixer brush tool, and it is not a brush tool, it is a mixer brush tool. And for other versions of Photoshop, you can find your mixer brush tool, I think, around right here. So we just want to set the brush so that we can paint through the skin and harmonize and blend the transitions within the skin tones of this model right here. So right above here, it is where you have to set up the mixer brush tool to do for you whichever thing you want in Photoshop. So right here, just click right here, left click, and you can see we have to select a clean brush, because we don't want a brush that is containing any color that we are going to be painting onto the skin as we're trying to transition different skin tone colors or skin tone transitions. So right here we have two options. Next, that the first one is going to be load the brush after each and every stroke, and the next one is going to be clean the brush after each and every stroke. So we just want to select clean the brush after each and every stroke, because we don't want to carry color from one area of the skin to a different area. After doing that, we have to come and select the wetness. Remember, the weight of a brush is going to determine how much color you're going to be carrying in the brush and how loaded or how much water the brush is going to be holding as you're trying to blend or even out the transitions within the image or the skin color or skin tones of the image. So the lower the wetness, the better the results. And for my case, I've really tried and tested that. I found out like a weight of 9 works best for me when I'm trying to retouch my images. Then the load, you have to make sure the load is 75%. The mix 90, because we want a really nice and blended skin tone transition, and the flow, we always want the flow to be 100%. So before you can do any mixing or any work on the images, always make sure and come and select the low frequency layer. Remember, the low frequency layer contains the colors and the skin tones of the image, meaning we want to work on that layer to even out or transition the skin tones to really be nice and better. So come and select it, but after selecting it, we have the option which says sample all layers. Remember, when you click on sample all layers, it means that it's going to be sampling or copying information from this other layer and also paints it into the low frequency layer. Let me show you guys what I'm trying to mean. If at all I use Command plus to zoom in, and I come and I simply increase on the size of the mixer brush tool by using the box brackets on the keyboard. So the left box bracket is going to reduce on the size of the mixer brush tool, and the right is going to increase on the size of the mixer brush tool. So when I start painting you can notice that it's also painting textures within the image, which we don't want. So just come and hit Ctrl Command Z to undo that. Make sure sample all layers is not checked or marked right here, because we only want to work on the information in the low frequency layer, which is the colors or skin tones. So we are done setting up everything, and anything is going to be retouching. Remember, the mixer brush tool is a soft, is a soft one. So just come right here, you can see the hardness is at 0. So we now want to start retouching. So simply zoom in a little bit. I think this is fine. You don't want to zoom all the way in because we don't want to work on the image to this zoom rate, because right here we can't see uneven skin tone transitions. We want to work on the image at a reasonable distance. So I think this could be good. This is fine. So right now, come to, this is a trick that is going to show you the uneven skin tone transition. So just come and turn off the high frequency layer, and right here you can see that we can see the uneven skin tone transitions in this kind of image. So reduce on the size depending on the area that you want to blend or mix on the image. And as you're doing this, always make sure that you follow the shape of the area and you don't drag your brush from an area that has different skin tone color or skin color. So just come right here and simply left click and hold down and move your cursor towards the direction, just like that. So I'm moving mine in an up down kind of movement or direction, and you can see where they are trying to transition. I just come and I blend right there. And as you're doing this, when you turn off the high frequency layer, it makes the image look plastic, simply because we are now working on the colors alone. And when you turn it back on, you can start to curve our textures back. So just come and turn it off, and the better results that you're going to be looking at are going to be determined by how much of a wax painting or how much of a plastic look you're getting in this kind of step. So just come and blend just like that, and come to this highlight and just blend it just like that. So I'm moving my brush in an up down kind of formation because the area I'm trying to work on is shaped in that kind of direction. So just come and work on the forehead just like that. So like I said, we are trying to mix areas that are looking alike, and the more plastic the results we get, the better our retouch is going to be at the end of the process. So just come and do that. I hope you can see. I'm simply left clicking and holding down and moving my brush in that direction of the area I'm trying to work on. So when you turn on the texture layer and we turn on the group on and off, so before, after, before, after, I hope you can see the results right here. We have just blended and worked on this area and it looks quite well. So depending on how you're working on the image, you have to work on the photo in that kind of format, and you have to keep on zooming in and out to see if at all you're messing up somewhere, and you have to redo that. So just come and start blending. So like I said, follow the direction of the face or the area you're trying to blend or transition, just like that. And like I said, the more plastic the image looks, the better the results you're going to be having, because you will have turned off the high frequency layer and selected the low frequency layer that contains only the colors and the skin tones of the image. So just come and do it like this. I'm sorry if at all you can hear any noise in the background. It is night and I'm just trying to make this lesson for you guys. So you can see what we are trying to do. I'm just following the direction of the model's face. So depending on the area you're trying to work on, you can reduce on the size of the brush and work on a smaller area to blend or transition it quite better and have the results or better results out of your retouching. You can see I'm just trying to blend every area, however small it is, because I just want to get the best out of the image at the end of the retouching process. You can see, come down below the eyes and just work on that, and come right here and also blend or mix that area. You can see every area that has been mixed really turns out to look a little bit plastic, but that is what we are trying to achieve by turning off the high frequency layer. So when you turn it back on and we see the before and after, you can see the results that we have right now, and the image looks a little bit better. But you have to be careful or really patient when you're trying to work on the image. Remember, make sure you play around with different sizes of your mixer brush tool as you're working on the image, just like this. Reduce on the size to work on a smaller area by using the box brackets on the keyboard. So I'm simply using the box brackets to reduce on the size and play around with different sizes of the mixer brush tool and working on the image. I hope you can see this. So when it comes to the nose area, we have this kind of different colors, and just come and work on those colors. You can see I'm just moving my brush in this direction, a top down kind of direction, and when it comes to this area, I'm just going to work on that and come make the brush smaller and just come and work on this other area. I hope you can see the image is turning out to look a little bit plastic, but don't mind about all that. Uh, Remember, we're just working hard to achieve the best results from this kind of technique. So just come and work just like that. So work right here, and when it comes to the eye area, you can now zoom in because we want to work on a smaller area. So just want to work and perfect that kind of smaller area. That's why we have zoomed all the way in. Reduce on the size and now come and work right here on the eye shadow just like that to perfect that area, and come to this other side and work between the eyebrows and also come and transition this other highlight on the nose. I hope you can see the results, and the more plastic it gets, the better the results, because right now you can't see the results, but I guarantee when you turn on the texture layer and you zoom out, you can see that we have a better looking image. This is the before and after. Before after, you can see the image looks a little bit better, but this is not all for the retouching process. And now come back and turn this off, and like I forgot to say, if at all you're really trusting your site, you can as well work with this layer turned on. But if at all you don't, come and select your low frequency layer and turn this off, and you can work without it turned on. So I'm just going to come and blend this area right here so that I can have a better and smoother transition. Reduce on the size and come right here. So we're just going to work on the lower part of the body. Remember, some people tend to forget these lowermost parts of the body. So just want to work and blend or mix these uneven skin tones. Just come and do this on the neck area. So the neck is moving in an up down kind of movement. That's why I'm trying to blend it in this up down kind of movement to have those nice and better transitions. So come and increase on the size and also work on the chest area just like that. And like I said, always play around with the sizes or different sizes of your mixer brush tool. If at all you want the best out of it when you're trying to retouch, you shouldn't have like a uniform brush size. So just come and blend just like this, reduce on the size and work on a smaller area. Just right here, you can see on the collarbone, I'm just following the direction of the areas I'm trying to work on. So just want to come and work also on the shoulder area. So I'm moving my brush in an up down kind of direction because the shoulder is moving from up to down. Increase on the size and work on these other areas on the shoulders just like that. So don't mind if at all the image is turning out to look a little bit plastic, because we will have another technique that is going to make the image look better and look nice at the end of this very retouching process. So turn back the high frequency layer and let's see what we have so far for the retouching. This is the image before, after, before, after. I hope you can see the results and what we have so far. So the next thing is going to be refining the areas we may have not mixed well when we are trying to use the mixer brush tool to work on the image. And in order to do that, we're going to be using another tool, and that tool is known as a lasso tool. So let's see what we did with the mixer brush tool before and after, before and after. So for the lasso tool, this is what we know as the lasso tool. So just come and simply click on it. So just want to make the lasso tool do the best for us when you're trying to perfect the areas we may have missed out when we are trying to work with our mixer brush tool. So when you get the lasso tool, in order to have a nice selection, so this tool helps you select specific areas, but if at all you don't want harsh edges from your selections, make sure that you change the feathering. Usually by default the feathering is going to be at 0 pixels. So I would recommend that you put the feathering between 20 and 25 pixels. So for this case, I prefer 22 pixels. Make sure anti-alias is selected and this first option right here is selected. So now want to zoom in by using Ctrl or Command plus on the keyboard, and now left click and move your cursor around the skin area. So only move it near the skin area and don't select the eyebrows and maybe other areas that are not having skin. So you have to keep away from the edges. And after you have made a selection on a skin area, come back to filter and come to blur and come down to Gaussian blur. So remember, this is the radius that we had when we are creating our frequency separation group or dividing the frequencies of the image. So when you start moving this radius to the right hand side, you have to be looking at this area. So this is going to be refining the image. So move it to the right hand side. Remember we started at 8. Move it the right hand side. So I think at around 24 pixels, we have a better skin detail or skin texture, and texture that looks a little bit realistic. But the trick I have to share with you guys is when you multiply this radius by 3, so whichever radius that you had when you're dividing the frequencies of the image, just multiply it by 3, and when you delete 8 and type in 8 by 3, you have 24. So just type in 2, 4, and 2. It is going to give you the same results. So we're just going to click OK, and you're going to be applying that onto the rest of the image. So just come and simply left click and draw a shape. Remember, we're just following the way the face is shaped. Right click and come to Gaussian blur and come right here, draw a shape. Right click and come and click on Gaussian blur, and in order to reduce on the intensity, you can fade or reduce on the power of that effect. So when you right click and come to Gaussian blur and the effect is too much, you can simply right click on that selection and you come to fade Gaussian blur and reduce on the effect, or you can simply hit Shift Ctrl F or Shift Command F on the keyboard and you can reduce on the intensity of that effect. So just come and apply it onto the rest of the image to refine it or to make your results better from the areas that you may have missed out when you're using the mixer brush tool. So we are almost done refining, because I prefer or I would recommend that you only use this technique on the face area when it comes to working with beauty images. So just come to the nose area. When it comes to the nose area, you have to apply it separately. Remember, different colors, you have to apply different settings. So just come to the nose area. We have a shadow on this other end of the nose. Make a shape, right click and come to Gaussian blur, and now come to this other side of the face and make a shape, right click and come to Gaussian blur, just like that. You can see this is better. So when it comes to the highlight, when you apply the Gaussian blur on this highlight and the intensity is too much, you can see it makes the nose look a little bit flat. So just come and fade or reduce on the intensity so the nose doesn't look big and fat in color. So I think that is better. Command minus to zoom out. So you can see that we have a nicely retouched image. So you can see the before, after, and the image looks a little bit beautiful and it looks very, very nice. So next thing, you can see I've retouched the image, but we have blemishes or skin imperfections in the photo. So just come and select a layer that contains the skin imperfections or the textures, and for this case that is going to be our high frequency layer. So just come and select it and come to, we have various tools that you can use to remove blemishes from the image, and these tools are, we have the patch tool. So patch tool, we have the settings right here. We have normal, source and destination. So how this works, you select the blemish, and after selecting it, simply move it to an area that is close to it, and you have to make a selection over the blemish and move it close to a clean area that is next to it to replace it with that clean area. So select that blemish and move it towards the direction of a clean area and replace that blemish. So we have various tools that you can use to remove blemishes, but I would recommend that you use the clone stamp tool, because with this you really select automatically, or you personally select areas that are really having the best skin texture, and you replace it manually, like use human intelligence to replace those areas. So with the clone stamp tool, just come and select it, and for the mode I prefer the mode normal, opacity and flow at 100%, and for the hardness I prefer 39 or 40%. So the hardness is 39. So with the high frequency layer selected, just come and simply sample. So you just have to sample and paste over the blemish. So in order to do that, just come in, for example, you come right here, hold down the alternate key on the keyboard and simply left click to copy this sample of a clean skin area, and simply left click over a blemish to get rid of it. So alternate on a clean area and left click, and also release the alternate and simply left click over the blemish to get rid of it. So that is what I'm going to do for the rest of the blemishes, so that I don't take a long time trying to explain this. And I have individual tutorials about how to remove blemishes from your images, and you can follow along, and I will link that in the card above here, so that you can really check out individual tools or different tools that you can use to remove blemishes from your images after or before doing skin retouching. And in that I usually explain everything, the advantages and disadvantages of every blemish removal tool, as you're trying to use it for or to remove those blemishes or skin imperfections from all your images after retouching them. So make sure that you watch it if at all you're really interested in how to remove those blemishes or skin imperfections from your images. So let's just do this, and when we are done removing these blemishes, we're going to do something simple and nice, that is going to be adding shape or dimension, or makeup artists are going to call that contouring. So we're just going to do that in Photoshop to make the image look better and really look polished and refined, and also add some shape or dimension to it after we have done skin retouching. Remember, times when we are doing skin retouching, I tends to flatten or makes our photos flat. So this technique is going to be adding shape or dimension to the images so that they don't look flat and boring. So you're just going to be doing that later on after we have removed most of the blemishes, and I think we're almost done removing these blemishes. So let's just clean up skin. Remember, blemish removal is going to contribute over 70% to your overall skin retouching. So you always have to take time while trying to clean up or remove blemishes from your images. So I think we're done removing blemishes. So let's see the overall before and after for the skin retouching. This is the image before, and this is the after. Before, after. I hope you can see the difference we have made just retouching this image within. I know this is a lengthy tutorial, but I hope you just get the point. So we're just going to close the frequency separation group. So we are going to be learning about how to do dodging and burning. So basically, what is dodging and burning? Dodging and burning is more of enhancing the highlights and enhancing the shadows of an image, so that when we add those aspects into the photo, they are going to really make the image prominent in those specific areas and make those parts really protrude and more pronounced in the image. So we are going to be using the curves adjustment layers. So we're just going to come right down here, and we're going to come to curves. So when you come to curves, just click once. So this is the curves adjustment layer. So when we make a midpoint right in the middle and we drag this up, we'll be brightening, and when we make a midpoint and drag it down, we'll be darkening the image. So that is what we're going to be doing. So with the curves adjustment layer or the white layer mask selected, click in the middle and brighten it up to when the image looks a little bit overexposed, and simply click right here to close that. Make sure the white layer mask is selected and hit Ctrl or Command I on the keyboard. So basically, dodging and burning is more enhancing the highlights, that's for dodging, and also enhancing the shadows, and that is for burning of an image. So just brighten those areas, that is going to be our dodge. So simply double click right there and hit, or we can name that to dodge. We're going to come and create another curves adjustment layers, and click in the middle, left click and drag down to darken the image, and make sure the white layer mask is selected. Hit Ctrl Command I on the keyboard to hide that effect from the image, and you're going to name this burn. So after doing that, you're going to put these two in a group by selecting both and hitting Ctrl or Command, clicking on both, then hit Ctrl or Command G on the keyboard, and you're going to name this dodge and burn. And right now we have our dodge and burn group right there. So we're just going to open up the image and open up our group. So click on the dodge layer, then we're going to come to the brushes and select our brush. So this is going to be a soft round brush. Opacity, we're going to be using an opacity of around 10% and a flow of 100%. And now remember, the black layer mask in Photoshop hides, and the white layer mask is going to reveal what was hidden behind the black mask. And in order to do that, we're going to be using a brush to reveal what is hidden behind the dodge or the black layer mask. So come right here and you have to select white on top, and in order to reset, click on these small boxes right here, and you can get white on top by using X on the keyboard. So when you have white on top, it means the brush is going to be white in color. So like I said, always make sure the caps lock key is not turned on, so always turn it off. And now we're just going to paint in areas that have highlights in order to make them more pronounced in the image. So using a white brush and this layer mask which has dodge selected, we are going to dodge the highlights. So just come and start painting over the highlights, or the areas that have those nice and prominent highlights. Come right to the chin area and just dodge right there, and come right here and also dodge this area just like that, and dodge right here on the neck area. So I'm simply left clicking and painting over the areas I feel should be more pronounced. So I could just come and make that pronounced. So you can see the before and after for the dodging, and this adds some kind of dimension to the image. And we're going to do the same for the burning. Reduce on the size, and now we're going to start burning the areas that have shadows, starting by the nose area. Burn that area and come and burn this other area and make that nose area really pronounced. Increase on the size, and now come to this cheekbone and burn there too. You can easily increase there and also burn. Reduce on the size and can come and burn these small areas. Remember, this is going to really transform your image and make it look better and not look a little bit flat. So you can see right there. So I could come back to the dodge mask and also burn on the lip area right here, or on the nose area. So let me just come and burn, so rather dodge. So dodging is for highlights and burning is for the shadows. So let me just dodge these areas and make them look better and more pronounced. You can come to the burn and also continue burning on the lip areas just like that to create more shape or dimension or have more appeal in those areas. So reduce on or zoom out, and now come and also burn. I think this should be, yeah, that should be a little bit darker so that it can really pop and look better. So this is really looking great. So let's see the before and after for the dodging and burning. This is the image before and this is the after. Before after, you can see before and after for the dodging and burning of this image, and it has that nice shape and dimension. So we're just going to close the dodging and burning. Like I said, you can as well reduce on the opacity if at all it is too much for your liking. So I'm just going to leave everything at 100%. And now the next thing is going to be eye whitening. So in order to whiten the eyes for this model, you're just going to create a stamp visible layer by hitting Shift Alternate Control E on the keyboard or Shift Alternate Command E on the keyboard to create a stamp visible layer for all we have done for skin retouching and the dodging and burning. So Shift Alternate Command E on the keyboard or Shift Alternate Control E on the keyboard, and you're going to come to Filter, and you're going to come to the camera raw filter to do the eye whitening. So under that, you're going to be using the adjustment brush tool to do the eye whitening on this image. So click to zoom in, or you can use Ctrl plus to zoom into the area that you want to perfect or to whiten. That is the eyes for this case. So just come and get the adjustment brush tool, and now we want to set it the best way possible. So remember, we have colors in the white area of the eye. We have some yellow color, and the opposite of yellow is blue. So just come and move this towards the blue side. So move the temperature slider towards the blue side, which is the opposite of yellow, to eliminate the yellows. And since we have greens in the white area of the eye, move the tint slider towards the opposite of green, which is the magentas. I think 60 is fine. And since we want the eye to pop or really have that kind of attraction, move the highlights to 5 and also the whites to make those areas really better and more attractive. And since we have other random colors that we want to eliminate in the white area of the eye, come to the saturation all the way down and desaturate to -60 and simply left click and start painting in the white area. So you only have to paint in the white area of the eye, and you have to be careful because when you paint on the skin, it is going to desaturate that area of the skin. So just come and paint only in the white area. You can even pronounce that nice catch light in the eyes. Use the space bar, click and left click to move, and now come and whiten this other area of the eyes just like that, and also pronounce that. Command minus to zoom out and see what we have so far, and the before and after so far for the eye whitening. This is the before after. I hope you can see a difference. So let's do a little bit of color grading to this image in the camera raw filter. So just come right here to the adjustments and scroll all the way down to the HSL panel. So we are going to come to the luminance and simply remember, luminance is more of the lightness or darkness of a given color. So we're just going to come to the oranges and simply darken that orange color just like that. So just going to take it around -20, and you're going to come to the hues and also hue down that color. So we're just going to go with a -4. I think that looks good. And take the hues of the reds towards the oranges. And I have so many color grading videos for you guys to watch. So this looks fine and looks okay to me. And simply hit OK to open the image back into Photoshop so that we can do the final step, which is having the selective color. So we're just going to come to selective color and hit that adjustment. So come down to the blacks and intensify the blacks in the image. So I think having 4, let's go with around 3 is enough. Then create another adjustment, which is a black and white adjustment layer, to create that kind of melanin feel to the image. So after creating a black and white, come and change the blend mode from normal to multiply, and come the opacity and simply reduce on the opacity depending on what we really want to go in for. So I'm just going to go with an opacity of around 10%, and that looks nice and looks great to me. So let's see the overall before and after for the retouching and color grading. This is the image before and after. So the next thing is going to be saving this image in the best way possible so that it doesn't change in color after you have been able to post it or share it anywhere. And in order to do that, we're going to come right here to File, Export, and come down to Export As. So after doing that, remember we want a sharp and detailed image, or a photo that is not going to change in color after we have been able to retouch and spend so much time trying to retouch it and color grade it. So just don't want to have those issues. So we're going to have this window open for you right here. And for the format, of course, you want a JPEG file, and the quality we want, of course, 100%. So we're going to leave the image size the way it is meant to be and the scale at 100%. Then resample, I'm just going to change this to bicubic sharper. Remember, we want a really sharp image after I've been able to do the skin retouching on it. So I've changed the resample to bicubic sharper so that we can have that kind of automated sharpening added to the image. I'm going to leave the canvas size the way it is, and also leave the metadata. If at all you want to add any copyright, you can do that. So when it comes to color space, this is going to determine whether your image is going to be having those issues of color change after you have been able to save it or not. So also check convert sRGB and also embed color profile, and in this it is going to embed every color that you have been able to color grade into the image, and also merge that kind of retouching that you have added and also a sharpening. And when you post it, it is not going to be losing any color or losing any detail or changing in color after being able to share it on social media or on your website. So just come to export, and you can rename the image to whatever you want. Maybe I'm going to name this retouching class because we have been in a retouching class. And after doing that, hit save, and after the image has been saved, this window is automatically going to close. So basically this has been it for today's tutorial, and if at all you have learned something new, don't forget to like this video and don't forget to share it with your friends and recommend it to your friends, and above all that, don't forget to hit the like button if at all you have learned something new. I'm Ronnix from ronnixphotography. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in yet more amazing tutorials, and don't forget, keep practicing and keep creating.